Alright, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD1 here, back here at Blazing Source, and amongst all the other rumors of there being a May event for PS5 reveal, and we still have to see the upcoming games for launch day and stuff like that, one game that has been rumored heavily is, of course, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, the sequel to, of course, Guerrilla Games' Horizon Zero Dawn. And it looks like we have some interesting details about the game that could shed some light on it actually being a PS5 day one title. So without further ado, here are some rumors going around about Horizon Zero Dawn 2 for the PlayStation 5. Alright, so starting off here, the link below in the description will be the push square, but the main breakers of this story was Video Games Chronicle, which they deem as a very reliable source, and I've definitely heard them in the past a few times here and there. So definitely, I do take this news with a little bit more than a grain of salt. Let's call it like a grain of rice. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a little bit more of a grain of rice on this story. But going off here, they do have a lot of info about this hypothetical game, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, for the PS5. So they say here, which to me is probably the biggest news, because on JoyClicks Gamescast, make sure to go subscribe to JoyClicks and listen to Gamecast, all the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? JoyClicks Gamescast, shout out to that. But I remember me and Christian having a conversation where we both would love if there was some sort of like co-op mode, like Monster Hunter-esque type of mode in Horizon Zero Dawn 2, where I could party up with him and we can go hunt those big massive monsters in Horizon Zero Dawn. Of course, the mechanical beasts and stuff like that, all those great designed and programmed enemies. Like, what if you could go with a friend and go out and hunt these things? I think it'd be super, super cool. Like, if there was maybe like a huge lead up time where you had to, get resources and maybe track it and stuff like that. But it looks like those things may be coming to fruition here, because the source did say that online co-op is coming to Horizon Zero Dawn 2. And they say here that both the studio, which is of course Guerrilla Games, and Sony were always keen on having the feature in the series. But the original game, it was actually supposed to be there before it was scrapped, so that the team could focus on other areas, which I think is very interesting. And there's allegedly, from what I read, there's actually some concept art that features some of this co-op play. I'll put it up on screen if I can find it before I start editing. But that's also interesting as well, how they were even in the midst of having concept art created for co-op and stuff like that, and just had that concept just bubbling in the air and stuff like that. I think a co-op would work absolutely great with Horizon Zero Dawn, and just it be like obviously not the same as Monster Hunter, but have it very similar to Monster Hunter. Like, give us some pages off of their book, what I'm saying, let me go track with my friend, let's go get this thing. Maybe they could have like weekly updates where there is another massive monster in the world, and you have to spend the weekend to track it, whatever. Maybe the first few teams to be able to get this monster, get some sort of cool emblem, whatever it is. Like, I think they could do a lot of really, really cool things to get people coming back to the hunt and stuff like that. But they did say here that the upcoming Horizon Zero Dawn 2 will have online co-op. It will be available, but it's not yet clear if this will form part of the base experience or if it'll be delivered in a separate mode. And so that is also something to take note here. Like, will you be able to play the main story cooperatively, or is it going to be like a tailored separate mode? If you're asking me, I would kind of like a separate mode. I think you could do a lot with making it not have to be reliant on the story, and not have to be reliant on having a fun experience, but also telling you a narrative. I think it'd be cool if it was a side thing as well, that there could be maybe bonuses, and maybe you could get gear that you can use in your story mode, and maybe that's the incentive on doing them. Or it could simply just be, hey, this is just separate mode. If you want, have fun with it. If not, play the main story and treat it like a single player game. You can do that as well. They can both coexist. I don't know why people over here on Twitter, I hope I'll find some, I'm gonna find some screenshots down below in the of all this talk on Twitter, because there's a lot of people that for some reason don't want multiplayer in any PlayStation exclusive, and I just think that is completely insane to me. But I am very welcoming to the concept of multiplayer in Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and really hope it does come to fruition, because it sounds dope. Like, I can't wait to hunt a big machine with the homie Christian, you know what I'm saying, even if it's just a separate mode. And honestly, I would prefer a separate mode to the game, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Would you want it to be like the whole entire story is, you know, being able to play it in co-op, or would you like a separate mode as well to just stand next to the story mode? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. But they also go on to further on claim that Guerrilla once intended to release a standalone preview of the co-op feature with progress that would carry over into the full game on PS5. However, it is no longer clear if those plans will be carried out. So I think this would be a smart thing to do, honestly, but I do see why they would want to just save it for the PS5 game. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you know, it's on the horizon, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like PS5 is still projected to come out this year in 2020, holiday 2020. So it looks like, you know, it's right around the corner, hypothetically speaking. So I say, hey, I mean, if you want to drop it in the summer, I mean, while we're all quarantined, sure. But it looks like if they stopped planning on it a few months ago, but seems like they've been saying with, you know, that statement saying that it's no longer clear if those plans will be carried out. If they're no longer clear that they're going to be carried out, it looks like it's probably not happening. But I think that would have been a great idea, or have some sort of beta, or, you know, just have some sort of just trial period where we can get a little taste of that, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 co-op. I think that'd be a great experience. But if we don't get it, it is what it is. But I still think that was cool how they were even toying around with the possibility of it being kind of analogous to what Naughty Dog said in terms of their multiplayer component to Last of Us Part 2, where it'll be like a separate standalone client for the most part. And very interesting to see that they both have similar type of you know, ways of going about it, or at least ways of thinking about it. And we do have a few more things to discuss here about this game, and that is that the first one here is that the development of the sequel supposedly started on PS4 before being transferred to PS5, which to me is really interesting, because we also got reports here that the development of the game did start, you know, quote, soon after the first game's successful release. That was from a developer that I believe gave a source to the site, and they said that, you know, they started development straight up after the game's release, which definitely does make sense. You know, like I feel like that's a pretty normal thing to do, you know, as opposed to like taking a little break. And I'm sure they had a little break, but they went straight into development on the sequel. But I do think it's interesting how at first it was intended to be a PS4 launch, because I would have assumed they would have been PS5 from the jump, and it's not like that's really telling them anything. I just think it's super interesting that at one point we could have hypothetically got a Horizon Zero Dawn 2 for the PS4, or maybe they always intended on it maybe being like a cross-generation game, and maybe that's how they were going about it. But it sounds like, you know, of course, development has shifted from PlayStation 4 to PS5. What do you think down below? I think that was super interesting, honestly. That was a really cool detail that they noted as well, because it's very just telling of where their mindshare was at when they started development on Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Now, of course, we already know here that the Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, will be on PS5, and it is also described as being a gigantic game thanks to a larger game world and more freedom to explore it. So this is pretty much the last point here, and I do want to kind of just double down on hoping that what they mean by saying it has more freedom in it to explore, hopefully that means that there are better ways of traversal. I think Christian made a very good point on an episode of Joki's Gamescast a few months ago, where he was saying that he loved the game, but he did feel that, you know, other than of course getting him out and finding him out and doing that whole thing, there wasn't really any form of transportation really, or like any other way to get around the world in a faster pace. And so he was hoping that there would be better ways of traversal, and maybe what they mean by that is that more freedom to explore it. I don't know, it could be a little bit, you know, just me just hoping for the best and like just like hoping for that and trying to find that in these quotes, but maybe that's what it means, you know, like who knows. Also, what's going on, guys? Just over here I was editing the video and totally forgot to mention that they said that Horizon Zero Dawn is becoming a trilogy of games. I can't believe I forgot to even mention that here, but of course we will be getting a sequel on PS5, but now there will also be a confirmed trilogy for the entire series. So expect that, expect more lore, expect more Aloy, I think, hopefully, you know, as long as anything happens, you know, nothing crazy happens to her, but expect a lot more Horizon Zero Dawn in the future that go beyond just the first game and the sequel. There will be a third to make a trilogy. Let me know if you can see in the comments below. Would you guys like more traversal in Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or what would you like to see in the sequel in general? You know what I'm saying? Like, does anything here sound appealing to you? What would you add? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure also, while you are down there, to check out our description where you can find our Discord Discord, our Twitter, as well as an anchor link to listen to long-form content in podcast format. That, of course, being Road to Part 2, as well as Save Slot Podcast. Like if you've enjoyed it, as well as subscribe to Plays and Swords to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.